Right now, there's a voice narrating your experience, reading these words, commenting on them. That voice feels like you, doesn't it? The core of who you are. But here's what neuroscience just confirmed. That voice isn't yours. It was never yours. It's borrowed, constructed. And most disturbing of all, not everyone has it. In the next 25 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly where that voice came from, why you mistake it for yourself, and what remains when it stops. Quick note before we go further. If you want more content that challenges how you see consciousness and reality, make sure you're subscribed. This channel exists to expand what you think is possible about your own mind. Now, let's dismantle something you've never questioned. Close your eyes for a moment. Not literally, you're watching a video, but imagine it. The second you do, what happens? A voice appears. Maybe it's saying, okay, I'm imagining closing my eyes, or what's the point of this? Or I wonder where he's going with this. That voice. You've had it your entire conscious life. It narrates your experience. It plans your day. It replays conversations. It criticizes you, encourages you, argues with itself, and you've always assumed that voice is you. The self, consciousness itself, the thing looking out from behind your eyes. But what if I told you that voice is not universal? That millions of people live their entire lives without any internal monologue whatsoever? That there are documented cases of people who lost that voice completely through brain injury and remained fully conscious, fully themselves? What if that voice you call you is actually something you learned, something constructed from the outside, a social artifact that colonized your skull and convinced you it was the center of your being? This isn't philosophy. This is neuroscience, linguistics, developmental psychology, cross-cultural research. Over the next 25 minutes, we're going to explore one of the most destabilizing discoveries about human consciousness. The voice in your head isn't you. It never was. It's a borrowed narrative structure that you internalized as a child and mistook for identity itself. We'll look at the research showing not everyone has this voice. We'll examine what happens when people lose it. We'll trace exactly where it comes from, and then we'll investigate what's actually there when the voice stops. Because here's the thing that keeps me up at night. If that voice isn't you, if it can be absent or lost without losing consciousness, then what are you? What's the thing that remains? That question has an answer, and it's nothing like what you've been taught. Let's start with something that shocked researchers when they finally asked the question directly. In 2020, a team of psychologists ran a large-scale survey asking people a simple question. Do you have an internal monologue? Do you hear words in your head? The assumption was obvious. Everyone would say yes. That's what consciousness is, right? Thinking in words, talking to yourself, narrating experience. Except that's not what happened. Roughly 30 to 50% of people reported having little to no internal verbal monologue. Not sometimes, not occasionally. They simply don't experience thinking as a voice. They think in images, feelings, abstract knowing, but not words. And here's what makes this deeply strange. They had no idea other people were different. They assumed everyone's mind worked like theirs. Just as you, right now, if you have an internal voice, probably assumed everyone did. Two fundamentally different modes of consciousness, and most people never realized the other existed. Charles Fernyhough, a psychologist who studies inner speech, describes this as one of the most profound variations in human experience that we simply never noticed, because we never thought to ask. But it gets stranger. When researchers started examining what people with internal monologue actually experience, they found massive variation. Some people have a single voice. Others have multiple distinct voices. Some experience their inner speech as dialogic, like they're constantly in conversation with themselves. Others experience it as a running commentary, like narration. Some hear their own voice. Others hear voices that don't sound like them. And all of them assume this is just how thinking works. But thinking clearly doesn't require words. People without inner monologue think just fine. They solve problems, make plans, reflect on experience. They're not less conscious. They're not less intelligent. They just don't translate thought into verbal form, which raises an impossible question. If consciousness doesn't require inner speech, why do so many people have it? Where did it come from? That question leads us to the second piece of evidence, and this one is even more unsettling. There are documented cases of people who had inner speech and then lost it. Complete loss. Not temporary, permanent. Usually through stroke or traumatic brain injury affecting specific language areas. And here's what those cases reveal. They remained fully conscious. One of the most detailed cases comes from a woman who suffered a left hemisphere stroke. Before the stroke, she had a constant internal monologue. Active, verbal, the voice that narrated everything. After the stroke, the voice stopped. Completely. She could still speak. She could still understand language. But the internal verbal stream disappeared. And when researchers asked her to describe the experience, she said something extraordinary. She said consciousness became quieter, more direct, less mediated. She described experiencing things without the layer of verbal commentary, seeing something and just seeing it, not seeing it, and simultaneously describing it to herself. Feeling an emotion and just feeling it, not feeling it, and narrating, "I'm feeling anxious," at the same time. She didn't lose consciousness. She lost the voice. And consciousness continued, which means the voice was never consciousness itself. It was something added to consciousness, a layer, a structure. And that leads to the question that changed everything for me. If the voice can be absent or lost without losing consciousness, what is it? Where did it come from? Why is it there? The answer comes from developmental psychology, and it's going to sound absurd until you see the evidence. That voice is language, social language, the voice of your parents, your teachers, your culture, internalized and running on autopsy inside your skull. When you were a child, adults spoke to you. They named things. They gave instructions. They asked questions. What's that? It's a dog. What are you doing? I'm playing. Be careful. Don't touch that. That external dialogue over years became internal. You started speaking to yourself the way others spoke to you. And eventually, you forgot it was learned. You forgot it came from outside. It became so naturalized, so automatic, that you mistook it for your own voice, for the self. Lev Vygotsky, the Soviet psychologist, demonstrated this experimentally in the 1930s. He showed that children first speak aloud to themselves while solving problems. Then gradually this speech becomes whispered, and finally it goes silent. But it doesn't disappear. It continues internally as inner speech. Language doesn't start in your head. It starts in the world, in social interaction, and then it colonizes your consciousness. Julian Jaynes, in his controversial but fascinating work, took this even further. He argued that this internalized voice is relatively recent in human history, that ancient humans didn't experience consciousness the way we do. They heard commands and guidance as external voices, which they attributed to gods. Only later did these voices become internalized and recognized as thoughts. Whether you accept his timeline or not, the mechanism he describes is verified. The voice you call you is internalized social language. It's dialogue that went inward. Now let's connect these pieces. If some people don't have inner speech and others can lose it without losing consciousness, and developmental research shows it's learned through social interaction, then what does that mean? It means the voice in your head is not you. It's not consciousness. It's not the self. It's a linguistic structure you acquired, a tool. And like any tool, some people use it more than others. Some don't use it at all, and some lose access to it but remain perfectly functional. The philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein said something that now makes perfect sense. The limit of my language is the limit of my world. But it's deeper than that. The structure of language becomes the structure of thought. And when that structure internalizes, it becomes the structure of what you mistake for self. You're not thinking in language. Language is thinking you. That voice isn't narrating your experience. That voice is constructing the experience of having a narrator. And the moment you see this, really see it, everything inverts. Because now the question becomes, who or what is aware of the voice? If the voice is an object in consciousness, not consciousness itself, then what's the subject? What's listening? What's watching that internal dialogue unfold? And that question will lead us somewhere you might not expect. Quick note, if you're finding value in this exploration and want more content like this, make sure you're subscribed. And if you're noticing You understand this intellectually, but want help applying it in practice. I created something specific for that gap. It's called the manifestation path. Link in the description. I'll leave it there for you later. Now, let's go deeper into what happens when you actually observe this voice. Let's do something uncomfortable. For the next 30 seconds after I finish this sentence, just observe the voice in your head. Don't try to stop it. Don't try to change it. Just notice it. Notice what it says. Notice its tone. Notice whether it's commenting on this exercise. Notice if it's skeptical, curious, resistant. Just observe. Do it now. What did you notice? If you actually did the exercise, you probably noticed something strange. The voice kept talking. It probably said something like, "Okay, I'm observing," or "This is weird," or "I don't hear anything," or "Is this working?" And here's the critical thing. If you were observing the voice, who was observing? The voice can't observe itself. That would be like an eye seeing itself or a knife cutting itself. There has to be something prior to the voice, something aware of the voice, not thinking about it, just aware, present with it. And that awareness, that observing presence, is completely silent. It has no voice. It has no words. It's just there, seeing, knowing, witnessing. This is what contemplative traditions have been pointing to for thousands of years, not through mysticism, through direct observation. The Buddhists call it the watcher. The Advaitins call it awareness itself. The phenomenologists call it pure consciousness. Different words, same discovery. There's something in you that precedes and witnesses the voice, and that something is more fundamental than any thought, any word, any internal narration. Now, here's where Western philosophy starts catching up. Edmund Husserl, the founder of phenomenology, developed a method called epoche, basically radical observation of experience without interpretation. When you apply this method to the voice in your head, something becomes immediately clear. The voice is an object. It appears in consciousness. It has qualities, tone, speed, content, emotional charge. It comes and goes. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it stops completely. You've experienced this, those rare moments of complete mental silence, maybe in nature, maybe after intense exercise, maybe during flow state. The voice stopped, and you were still there, still conscious, still experiencing, just without verbal commentary, which means the voice can't be you, because you're the thing that remains when the voice stops. Descartes got it backwards. He said, "I think, therefore I am." But it's actually the opposite. I am, therefore thinking appears. Consciousness is prior to thought. The voice emerges in consciousness. It doesn't create consciousness. This distinction isn't semantic. It's the difference between being imprisoned by the voice and being free from it. When you believe the voice is you, every thought feels like truth. Every criticism feels like fact. Every fear feels like prophecy. The voice says, "I'm not good enough," and you believe it because you think that's you talking. But when you see the voice as an object in awareness, everything changes. The voice says, "I'm not good enough," and you can observe that thought the same way you'd observe a bird flying past. It's there. It has a certain quality, but it's not you. It's not truth. It's just language doing what language does. Narrating, interpreting, commenting. Let's try another experiment. This one is more subtle. Right now, locate the sensation of you. Not intellectually. Don't think about it. Actually try to find it in direct experience. Where is the feeling of being you? Is it in your head, behind your eyes, in your chest, distributed through your body? Take a moment. Actually look. Can you find a concrete location for you? And here's what most people discover when they actually look. There's no clear location. There's a vague sense of being here, being present, being aware, but it's not located in the head where the voice is. It's more like a field, a space in which everything appears. The voice appears in that space. Your body sensations appear in that space. Visual perception appears in that space. But the space itself, that aware presence, has no specific location. It's not a thing. It's the condition for things to appear. Now ask yourself, if that aware presence has no location, no substance, no characteristics, how can it be identical to the voice? The voice has location. It seems to come from your head. It has a specific tone, speed, and content. It changes constantly, but the awareness of the voice doesn't change. It's the stable background against which the voice appears and disappears. This is not a belief system. This is direct observation. You can verify it right now. Close your eyes, listen to the voice, and notice that the listening isn't the voice. The listening is silent, spacious, prior, always there. And that listening awareness is closer to what you actually are than any thought that appears within it. The philosopher Thomas Metzinger describes this as the phenomenal self model. Your brain constructs a model of self, and the voice is part of that model. It creates the illusion of a unified narrator, a central me that's thinking, choosing, experiencing. But that model is not the thing itself. It's a representation, a useful fiction. Like how a map is not the territory, the voice is not you. It's your brain's map of you. And most people spend their entire lives mistaking the map for the territory, never realizing they can step outside the model and observe it. When you do step outside, even for a moment, the whole structure becomes visible. You see that the voice is conditioned. It has patterns. It repeats certain phrases. It has a style, usually borrowed from significant people in your life. It has biases, blind spots, default interpretations. It's not truth. It's not wisdom. It's automated social language running on repeat. And the more you observe it, the less power it has, because you're no longer identified with it. You're the one watching it. And what's watching is vast, silent, and free from the voice's constant judgment and narration. This is where we arrive at the heart of the matter. The voice isn't the problem. Having a voice isn't wrong. Inner speech is useful. It helps plan, reflect, solve problems. But mistaking the voice for self is the source of most psychological suffering, because then you're trapped in the voice. Every thought feels like you. Every mental loop feels inescapable. Every internal criticism feels like truth. But when you see the voice as one phenomenon among many, appearing in awareness but not identical to awareness, liberation becomes possible. Not liberation from the voice, liberation from identification with it. Let's bring all the threads together. We started with a simple observation. There's a voice narrating your experience. Then we saw that not everyone has this voice, that some people can lose it without losing consciousness. That developmental research shows it's internalized social language, not something inherent to consciousness. And when you observe it directly, you discover something prior to the voice, silent awareness that witnesses the voice without being the voice. Now, here's the revelation that changes everything. That voice you've been calling you your entire life. It's not a person, it's a process, a linguistic process running in consciousness. It's dialogue that went inward. It's your parents' questions, your teacher's instructions, your culture's values, all collapsed into a single stream and attributed to you. The voice is real, it exists, but it's not the self, it's the self-concept. It's language creating the illusion of a unified narrator. And the reason this matters, the reason this is worth understanding deeply, is that most of human suffering happens in that voice. Anxiety is the voice narrating future scenarios. Depression is the voice narrating past failures. Self-doubt is the voice comparing you to others. Overthinking is the voice looping the same thoughts endlessly. And as long as you believe that voice is you, you're imprisoned by it. But here's the liberating truth. The voice is something you're aware of, which means you're not the voice. You're the awareness in which the voice appears. That awareness is silent. It doesn't think. It doesn't narrate. It doesn't judge. It just witnesses. And it's always been there, every moment of your life, beneath the voice, behind the thoughts, prior to the narration. There's been this silent, spacious awareness, not doing anything, just being present, just knowing. That awareness is closer to what you are than any thought that appears within it. It's not personal. It doesn't have a story. It doesn't have preferences or fears or ambitions. It just is pure presence, pure knowing. And when you shift your identity from the voice to that awareness, everything changes. Not because the voice stops, it probably won't, but because you're no longer fooled by it. The voice says, "I'm not good enough," and instead of believing it, you observe it. Interesting. That thought appeared. The voice says, "I need to figure this out right now," and instead of getting pulled into the mental loop, you notice it. The mind is doing its planning thing again. You're not fighting the voice. You're not trying to make it stop. You're just recognizing it for what it is. Language, conditioned patterns, automated commentary. Not you, not truth, just phenomena appearing in consciousness. And here's the most radical implication of all. If the voice isn't you, then who you've been defending, protecting, and identifying with your entire life never actually existed. Not as a solid, continuous self. The you constructed by the voice is a narrative, a story the mind tells about experience. I was born here. I did these things. I believe this. I want that. I'm this kind of person. That's not you. That's the voice creating continuity, creating the illusion of a separate, stable self moving through time. But what's actually happening is consciousness arising moment by moment, and the voice weaving those moments into a story called me. When you see this clearly, the whole structure becomes optional. Not that you lose your identity or become a blank slate, but the identity becomes lighter, less solid, less defended. You can play the role of you without believing its fundamental truth. You can engage with the narrative without being imprisoned by it. You can let the voice narrate without mistaking its narrative for reality. This is what's meant by the phrase waking up, not to some mystical dimension, but to the difference between the map and the territory, between the voice and the awareness, between the story of you and the you that exists prior to any story, and that you, that awareness, that silent witness, it was never born, it will never die, it has no history, no future, no problems to solve. It's just here, now, aware, free. That's what remains when the voice stops. That's what you actually are. Everything else is commentary. There's a brutal difference between intellectually understanding that you collapse reality and actually living as someone who knows this. Most people watch videos like this, feel the insight, and 3 days later, they're back to the same mental and emotional pattern as always. Why? Because knowledge without embodiment changes nothing. That's exactly the gap that led me to create the manifestation path. It's not a course. It's a structured process of identity reprogramming through 3 progressive workbooks and 28 days of guided daily practice. You'll identify and dismantle the autopilot, map who you are versus who you're becoming, and practice every day until the new identity is no longer effort, but naturalness. Neuroscience plus consciousness plus coherent action. It's not temporary motivation, it's structural change. Link in the description if you want the next insight to actually change how you exist. If you want to work with this directly, here are 2 practices. First practice, set a timer for 2 minutes. Sit quietly and just observe the voice. Every time it speaks, notice it. Don't try to stop it. Don't judge it. Just observe. Notice its tone. Notice its content. Notice the space between thoughts. Do this once a day, and you'll start recognizing the voice as object, not subject. Second practice, during your day, whenever you notice suffering, anxiety, or mental looping, ask yourself, what is the voice saying right now? Just identify the specific thought, name it. The voice is saying, I'm behind. The voice is saying, this won't work. The voice is saying, I'm not enough. The moment you name it, you're no longer fully identified with it. You've created distance. You've remembered you're the awareness, not the voice. You started this video assuming the voice in your head was you, the center of your being, the self itself. Now you know it's not. It's borrowed language, internalized dialogue, a useful tool that became mistaken for identity. And beneath that voice, prior to it, more fundamental than it, there's silent awareness. Not thinking, not narrating, just present, just knowing. That awareness is what you are. Everything else is just the voice telling stories about what you are. And you don't have to believe those stories anymore. The voice will keep talking. That's what it does. But you're no longer imprisoned by it. You're the space in which it appears. You always were. You just forgot. Now you remember. If this changed how you relate to your own thoughts, leave a like and drop a comment. After observing your inner voice for a day, what did you notice about its patterns? What does it repeat most? I'm curious what you discover.